why do you think EV adoption is getting delayed? There was
Right, right,
a year of 2018 first, like
right,
government
right,
was saying that they'll make it more compulsory. Then it became 2020. Then it became 2025. You might remember this European Union. They announced that by 2025 they'll make everything EVs. Recently they said
mm-hmm.
they'll make that happen by 2035. So
Mm-hmm.
this seems like happening again and again. This EV adoption, in a way, it's getting
Mm-hmm.
postponed very frequently. So why do you think this
Right,
is
right.
happening?
The thing is, it's a vicious cycle. You don't have enough infrastructure to enable usage of EVs.
Hmm.
But then, since you don't have enough EVs on the road, you also don't see a need for infrastructure to be built. So,
Hmm.
but then I think it's changing. So you also have private players who have started coming up with their own charging points for all EVs in every city. Uh, I think the thing to solve to a large extent would be charging at home. When like in the future, every apartment complex should, or every
Hmm.
house or every building should have these aspects catered to, right? Like it is as simple as you bringing water from somewhere to your place, in a few, in like literally in pots, and the difference between that and water having water coming to your place through a tap, through a pipeline,
Tap.
right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so I think so once infrastructure gets set in, and then you never think of going back to that again, right?
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
it is kind of like that. The other thing is adoption, I think, is also slow to a large extent because of apprehension, because of
Hmm.
range anxiety. But I think once you alleviate that, once you realize that, okay, if this is the range I get, how much am I actually going to use it? Or even
Hmm.
if I have to travel, I can still charge somewhere if I do run out or start running out in the worst case. So I think
Hmm.
it, to a large extent, the answer might be infrastructure driven, but it's also to a large extent product driven. You I think there are certain price structures that still don't work for a for a majority of your
Hmm.
customer, right?
Correct.
These are also difficult to achieve based on the tech that actually goes in EVs right now. One of the things that you do kind of, there's a way that you can kind of push that to happen is by providing a better experience on your
Hmm.
product than your existing products, right? So the actual desirability of that product itself goes higher.
Yeah.
Like if you can do much more with an EV than you can do with a petrol vehicle, in terms of whatever it does for you, right? I think
Hmm.
that there are things that kind of will make that a more compelling choice.
There are some countries, especially when it comes to EVs, I have seen that China has been very strong, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
China adopted EV, I think a decade or 2 decades back, right? Like, and they have like full infrastructure ready, and I think most of the cities in China, there are absolutely no petrol-driven vehicles. So,
Uh,
what do you think? Like China did different compared to India?
I believe there was a mandate, right, that you can't
Correct.
really use yeah, you can't really use IC engine vehicles in
So government
public areas
literally
at all.
pushed EVs onto people. Like,
Yeah, yeah. But I think, but they didn't. Of course, they didn't force EVs onto people that way. I think they also ensured that. I mean, I think every manufacturer and every say every other system that gets
hmm,
involved in these things, which is right from your
hmm,
corporations to your apartment complexes, places which have provisions for charging in public.
hmm,
It's a massive collaborative effort from everyone. It's not like just like a government related thing, right?
hmm,
So
hmm, hmm.
yeah, I mean.
I think
That's how I
rather
think even
than
no.
forcing
Uh,
things, they made it more convenient. And
yes.
maybe owning a petrol vehicle, it was very difficult for them. So, and then for people, for normal people, it became like an obvious choice. This vehicle is like petrol vehicle. Obviously, petrol, you have to spend more. And then owning also is very expensive. Then better go for a EV vehicle. So I think
Yeah.
that kind of mindset would have changed the ecosystem over there. The change is always difficult. And
Yes.
it takes time. And what I'm
Right.
really happy to see that is nowadays, in Pune especially, I'm seeing so many EV scooters. Okay, so many, literally, like suddenly, I don't know what has happened. Like before COVID, there was this complete petrol vehicles on the street. Then two years of lockdown went just like that, no vehicles on the road. And suddenly now, when everything is opening up, I am seeing Athers, Olas, Chetaks everywhere, and I'm like, like this adoption has taken a good pace actually. And
Yes, yes.
also the users, I can see a variety of users. So for example, some scooters, there are like so many IT professionals. Then also there are like cost effective, very pocket oriented users are also there, who are owning these little bit more affordable kind of scooters, but they are also having EV scooters. So I am seeing this entire spectrum. I am seeing this entire adoption picking up a good amount of pace. And if
Right.
this pace continues, I think maybe 4 5 years will be there. Like 50-50 scenario might be there. So I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I hope
excited
so.
for that. In this,
Yeah.
I have just one more question that because of this range anxiety and all that, there are so many startups and companies who are trying to tackle this problem by swappable batteries, right? So, but then again, swappable batteries has their own challenges, right? The batteries are not
Exactly.
standardized. They have different charging requirements involved and all that. At the same time, there are so many companies who are trying to push that. So, do you think swappable battery is kind of a solution, or it will be difficult because every company, they are not comfortable in sharing their own charging tech with everyone else?
This is actually a really good question because at least on a personal level and also on in general at all of us believe in non-swappable batteries.
Correct.
You I think fixed batteries are better.
Hmm.
Your your swappable batteries come with an entire host of challenges which actually make your life a little more difficult in that sense. Of
Hmm.
course, there's an aspect of standardization. There are companies which are trying to come together. Like I think in Japan, I think all the big four came together. But I think the challenges there are again, the challenges with using swappable batteries. One is standardization. Secondly, packaging inside the vehicle, engineering specifically your vehicle to enable swapping,
Hmm.
um, setting up of swapping stations, and I think it comes with its own set of challenges and which make the whole thing more inefficient.
Hmm.
So yeah, I strongly feel that fixed batteries and home charging is the way to go.
Way to go. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
right.
Because this has become like very serious kind of conversation till now. Let's change the tone of it a little bit. So tell me something that because Ather is located in Bangalore, okay, and
Right, right.
Bangalore in recent times it has gained this status like a Silicon Valley of India, right?
Hmm.
Uh, like USA used to have the Silicon Valley where all the big startups like Fang and everyone, like it was there. It was the place for all the tech oriented people. Now the same thing is
Right,
happening
right.
with Bangalore. Most of the startups are from Bangalore, especially Gurgaon also is there. But definitely Bangalore has becoming this tech capital of India. Like a lot of aspiring students or people or designers who are like thinking of moving to Bangalore, joining some company and all. What do you think? Like Bangalore, what set of things it has there to offer all these young guys?
Good coffee for starters. Amazing coffee. I
Okay,
so I'm not a coffee person. I'm more of a tea person, and
okay.
like I consume 2 cups of chai during this podcast. I guess I don't know, but
I am
so
a
yeah,
coffee
yeah.
person, so I would
But
love going to Bangalore, I feel.
yeah. So yeah, you get great coffee anywhere. Of course, there's this the stereotypes about Bangalore weather being good, and they're all true. And then the other stereotype about terrible, horrible
Yeah,
traffic.
yeah.
It's yes, that's true as well. It's just right now the entire city is in a transition, is a big, huge transition phase from
Mm-hmm.
like the way the city kind of sprung up, right? And from a planning perspective. So I think connectivity wise, public transport wise, this it's undergoing a huge transition. So there's metro construction all over the place, and I hope once that comes up, I think the entire city once the entire city gets connected from end to end properly, this should ease a lot of that. If
Mm-hmm.
roads are done better, I think that should just help. I think to a large extent, if you sync traffic signals properly, if you kind of and planning and coordination related issues that end up in traffic being bad.
So basically,
And
Bangalore needs
I
a lot
hope
of system designers and crowd
Oh,
management.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if there are system designers who can actually work with
Bangalore
government
government.
agencies.
Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, I think that should greatly help the cause of like
mm.
better. So because it's not a great experience just being stuck in traffic, right?
Yeah, it's waste of time in a
So
way, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's just that I've now discovered every single small lane and bylane that I can take to reach home faster.
Shortcuts. Yeah,
So yeah, shortcuts. Yeah, it's just a fun way of again discovering hidden gems in your city, I guess.
treasure hunter.
So so, so like you'll be going through a lane and you'll smell something nice and like, oh wow, I must stop here. So that that happens to a lot of people. But as a city, it does have a lot to offer from a like in the amount of sheer amount of startups, the sheer amount of big tech companies that are here. Like in every few square kilometers, there are at least 5 EV startups. I don't know.
Wow,
Uh,
really? Is that
yeah.
so?
I'm pretty sure. So of course, there's vehicle startups, there's EV startups. The reason Ather moved to Bangalore was also to be part of an entire startup ecosystem, right? Where
Hmm.
you first of all you have a really good culture in terms of you like collaborating with other tech companies or kind of
Hmm.
being in the same space as other tech companies, and that helps a lot. You're also not too far off from Chennai and the
Hmm.
Hosur industrial belt,
Correct.
so
Yeah.
that is another advantage. So you
Hmm.
can, so I think in that sense Bangalore works very well for vehicle EV manufacturers or EV startups.
Hmm.
Apart from that, other tech startups, most in terms of payments, in terms of delivery, education, I mean, I think they're all based in here. So a
Okay.
ton of opportunities. Yes.
Wow, awesome. Actually, recently, one of my wife's friend actually, so she was approached by some startup in Bangalore, and there is something you might know that in initial days, startups will offer employees the position of co-founders, right? Like they'll directly say that you can join us as a co-founder or something like that. And because of this Bangalore hype and Silicon Valley kind of hype, she was like super excited. She went there, she joined the company, and like in couple of months only she had like really bad experience. So the kind of work culture they had, the kind of so many sketchy things were happening over there, and
Mm-hmm.
that made me realize that it's not all like positives over there.
Of course,
So
of course.
for all these students and aspirants, even if they are deciding to move to Bangalore to join a startup or something like that, I think they should be more cautious about checking. Like they should be thorough with what they are gonna handle in future, and then only they should take that step. So
Yeah.
there are like pros and cons of everything over
Oh,
there.
you're absolutely right. I think that is a thing. Work culture should not be taken for granted. Again, as a student, it's really difficult to
Hmm.
gauge how work culture, like what work culture means, and what is good work culture, what is bad work culture. But I think, yeah, maybe more internships,
Hmm.
more of a taste of the industry beforehand can help you make that decision better.
As Shantanu was saying, even if you are getting approached by these startups, make sure that they have right vision, they have the right set of people with the good working culture, and then only you should take a call. Otherwise, you otherwise you might end up in a mess.
I don't know if there's a system that can be set up to help people who have landed these jobs and at these startups to help them, at least maybe understand what they will actually end up doing, like a council of sorts. Maybe
Hmm.
this could be a new startup. I don't know. This is
Yeah,
a this is
this
this is a this
Bangalore
is a
mentality,
legit
no?
this is and like this is a legit Bangalore mentality, and I find myself doing this all the time, like including now, like hey, startup idea. So
Yeah, ये करते हैं, वो
maybe
करते
maybe someone should take this
हैं.
up. Yeah. So
Awesome.
counseling services for new joinees at startups.
So let's see where this EV industry is going. Awesome. So
Yeah.
let's come
Yeah.
to the final part, which is like the more fun part. Let's talk more about Mr. Shantanu Jog. So we talked about so many things. Let's talk more about
Yeah.
you. So can you tell what are your interests, what you like? You already mentioned that you are into automobiles and reading and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
what are your current interests? What do you do on weekends?
I like roaming around the city. This whole love of vehicles is it's so strong that you'll like even in your spare time you'll be you'll be
Reading
watching
about
a
it.
video, so or reading about something, or just scrolling
Awesome.
an automotive website mindlessly. So I guess that happens. I do collect diecast cars, so I
Oh,
have a bit of a
huge
collection.
collection.
Yeah. So
Ah,
there's
nice.
that.
Which is your favorite bike?
Oh, my favorite bike, I guess that would be the Ducati 999.
Wow. Okay. And yesterday, when we
Yeah.
were having this conversation on the phone, you
Yeah.
mentioned that you are one of those very small group of people who will prefer 999 over 916, right?
Yes. So I'll tell you, yes. So I like the 999. I even like the MH900E. That is just
Hmm.
another very dramatic. So it is still. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of most retro bikes, but that one is an exception. And yeah. So, but yeah, I would say like okay, if you were to ask, so 999 a little bit over a 916,
Hmm.
just a little bit, but I would still stick. I mean, given if I have to choose between the two, I would choose the 999.
Awesome.
It is
Awesome.
just more radical, and and again, like I was saying, just because I like turbulence, or I'm a huge fan, doesn't mean I hate tamburini, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can like turbulence and tamburini at the same time.
Same
I
time.
mean, and the analogy that you talked about, like you can be a cat person and a dog person. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
don't. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
which which I am actually. I mean, I like both cats and dogs. I've seen one in person ages ago. So yeah,
Actually, I
yeah.
have seen this bike for the first time in Japan. Like I was in Tokyo,
Oh,
and that time I saw this bike. It's one thing to see this bike in photographs, but in actual the volume and that sheer fairing volume, no, this big fairing, and then that
hmm.
very raw looking frame and things like that. It's completely different. The feel and the volume, it's completely different. So
Right.
it's definitely one of the iconic bikes. I think India, we don't have any 999s, right?
I've seen pictures of one again
Okay.
long ago on one of these, I think XBHP or something. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, I it's possible that someone might have their bike
Someone
hidden
might
away in
have.
a garage somewhere.
Okay. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, do you own any bike for now?
So yeah, so I have a BMW G Street R, which I
Oh,
hardly
nice.
use. I
Because of Bangalore traffic?
partly yes, and I also have an Ather 450X.
Uh-huh.
So
Nice.
that is my primary mode of transport
Hmm.
for my commute needs.
Awesome.
It's tinier, it's more compact, and it's I still have fun over it. I keep talking about this to most of the people I meet or even in office, and there's warp mode, which is essentially super fast, and I end up shaming one bike guy per day. Like there'll be some random bike guy on the road, and I'll be at a signal, and I'll just kind of go past everyone on a signal, because of course cities are built that way, right? So and that's where electric vehicles become relevant. So I think
Yeah.
it's fun. It's just more convenient in terms of its usage in the city.
When it
Ah,
comes to Ather Design,
ah,
there are so many iconic things. Like when we talk about Ather 450, the design itself, there are so many interesting things which are going around. First of all, you have die-casted frame, which is very iconic, one Ather with semi-transparent kind of acrylic panels, and
yes,
which exposes that frame. It looked
yes.
super cool, by the way. It looked super cool. So great
Right.
job on that, the design and the concept
Oh,
behind it. And
thank you.
another interesting thing that one portion of the frame which kind of gets exposed just underneath the seat, which holds that seat part.
Yes.
That also, I think it's super iconic. And there are many small things. Like I'll tell you very honestly, don't take it in a wrong way. But
Sure.
when I saw Ather for the first time, I was like, yeah, it's a nice scooter, it's a nice company, nice electric vision and everything. But the way that scooter and that design grows on you, it's another thing. Okay, like now when I see that scooter on roads with some proper cool, IT guy, like I usually see this guy always, mostly going to the office. So this guy will be wearing his sandals, shorts, okay, fair looking guy. He'll be wearing nice black goggles, okay, cool looking dude, with one duffel bag. That gym duffel bag will be there, no, kept over there. And that entire scooter with that kind of persona, it all, works beautifully together. So great job on that. And also that the front fascia and the rear, that tail light areas, it has become kind of an iconic image for the scooter. So I think kudos on that job, on the design part of it. Also, there is there is one very nice feature that you have that flushed kind of a
side stand.
Right? Honda used to have that in their old bikes. So yeah, very similar and very cool looking. That so entire design part, I think it's very cool. So can you tell a little bit more about the entire design process?
Sure. So first of all, I think the credit for that entire thing is not mine alone. Of course, there's an entire team of people who worked on the bike, right? And the finished product, right from people like right from the overall concept design to the actual execution of it, the engineering, the product architecture part of it, right? And there's an entire team, like right from concept, like actual concept sketches to taking it to a very well refined finished surface. And then I think even when we were designing at a certain stages, we realized that certain parts that we had originally envisioned, we thought that's how they should look. We realized that they don't look as good, considering. So the exposed frame under the seat, right? The painted exposed frame that comes out, right? So that part, so which is the seat hinge as well. So that part initially was a very simplistic tubular frame, right? And we kind of it was basically a nod to a lot of performance vehicles, performance bikes, and we realized that while the rest of the vehicle looked futuristic, looked clean, this was one part that was very different and came from a different time altogether. And the rest of the world's literally rest of the world's moving away, like at least the motorcycle world's moving away from. Most of them are moving away from even Ducatis, right? You don't really have an iconic tubular frame. And this was so this was till 2015, 16 when we were doing this, and we realized that I think we realized that we should just change that part. And we also moving away from an overall tubular subframe, like an underseat subframe, to a cast subframe for providing better packaging, for providing better engineering control, and for better. In fact, it has advantages all across, like right from handling to stability to structural stability to everything. So when we were doing that, we realized that if we're changing this, why not change the one exposed part of it, right? So that basically the change was holistic. And it was a natural change. This was also us evolving our point of view of thinking, our thought process, and that certain things have also come by on that vehicle from that point of view. The overall approach has always been to do the proportion first thing, where your silhouette of the vehicle is one of the biggest, most important factors. Your silhouette, your negative spaces, and making sure that that silhouette is clean, that silhouette is fresh. It conveys what the product intent is. Has been one of the biggest challenges, and but at least in terms of how the vehicle performs and how the vehicle looks, there's a match, and you need to have that match, right? So that was one of the things we ensured. I think at least we've tried to do our best on. Certain other decisions, like having a huge headlamp lens with a tiny headlamp inside. Again, like these are things that we wanted to do because you kind of want to create a certain sense of what this vehicle is, right? You want to kind of convey that, hey, this vehicle is at first glance you don't even see the lamp very, if you're at a distance, because it's hidden away under this huge transparent lens, right? So if there's ample sunlight falling on it, you don't even see it. So these are things that we've tried to consciously do, where from a distance you see pure proportion, but as you go closer, you see a lot more detail in every part, which boils down to even a part like the front number plate mount. So I mean, for us, the front number plate mount is a necessity and not an afterthought. If a legislation in our, which is specific to our country dictates that we make a front number plate mount,
Hmm.
it we better cater to it as part of the entire vehicle, right? So that
True.
is where that's been our point of view. So everything
Awesome.
should be part of the vehicle and not be an afterthought. But yeah, I think again, since we were making a performance vehicle, we wanted to make this short tail without losing out on seating for two people.
Correct.
So there's a short tail which is also truncated at the rear, which has this very
Hmm.
distinct, like a
Cut.
verticalish line,
Chop.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, chopped, right?
Hmm.
And the tail is lifted up. You can literally see everything underneath, and even that negative space is clean. There are no loose
It's
cables.
like
There are no
nice.
extra components hanging out.
Yeah.
All this has been possible only because of the support of like the entire org, the
Definitely.
entire team, so everyone. So yeah, right. So it's like a single-minded vision, and so without that support, like you as a designer, it's not possible to achieve that kind of output. So yeah, it's been amazing that way.
Now that you have spent so many so much of time in this two-wheeler industry, two-wheeler EV
Hmm.
industry, uh, what do
Right.
you want to say to those aspiring students who are still in college and who are in that dilemma that whether they should join an OEM or whether they should join a startup or whether they should, there's so much happening with this UI UX industry also. So there are so many people who are like little confused that whether to continue transportation design or move away and go chase money and go to some other discipline. What will be your advice to those students?
Again, I think it's just mostly, to a large extent, these are introspective aspects of your choice that
Completely
you
agree.
need to
Yeah.
you need to make, right, and be very clear on what you want to do, and if you want to then build your skills. There are other aspects which revolve around what, like, you don't exist in a vacuum, right? As a designer, you exist as a part of an entire system. You are in service to your customer. Having a basic understanding of vehicle needs in the future would be crucial. But of course, at an OEM, you'll get the advantage of exposure. You'll get the advantage of learning a lot. But with a startup, I think you when you if you join an early stage startup, you also end up learning with the rest of the company. So
Hmm.
and it is probably far more hands-on,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I think both come with their pros and cons. In terms of again, there's another pay aspect to it, which you touched upon, right? Which was like
Yeah.
people leaving their core domain and going to UI and UX. But
True.
then, if you think about it, that's like the reason that also happens is because uh, the scope of design over the past few years has changed, and
Hmm.
products have moved on from being physical products to digital products. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone studying transportation for that matter and then getting into UX, right? I mean,
True.
you're actually you're still doing design, you're still solving problems, you're still, in fact, a majority of UX challenges uh, end up in like the challenges that you face end up in you doing the very basic core aspects of design and kind of
Hmm.
going in depth. I also like to give an example of how we design at Ather, and
Hmm.
one of my pet peeves is the term styling. I hate that term to its core, and it is, once all the work is done, you end up kind of being at, like someone who touches it up and makes it look better. But that is not who you are, right? That is not who you are as a professional. There are so many aspects that go into the making of a vehicle alone, and that can make or make the difference between a good vehicle and a great vehicle. And how
Hmm.
you build, even how you build product experience. So even how you build, how you design HMI, how you build physical product experience, how you build digital product experience, how you
True.
build an ecosystem around that product. So even if you come from an automotive design background, there are like an insane number of opportunities in areas which might not have to do with vehicle form,
Right.
and but then there are, and then these are spaces that are still not being captured. They're not being worked on in the kind
Hmm.
of depth that they should be.
Yeah, I think more I'm talking to people like you and more I'm discussing these kind of topics. I am slowly developing this thought process that you know designing particular thing is one thing, but when you are more conscious about what kind of impact you are trying to create, I think that will create the main drive for your work. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, so it does, like, let's say if your impact, the impact you want to create is through EV, that to create a sustainable future or to create the best possible EV scooter which will have no range anxiety, which will provide the best lifestyle out there, then you won't be bothered about if you are sketching the scooter or if you are doing an UX for the EV ecosystem, or you are creating some kind of an engineering solution, providing engineering solution. I think that's what I learned from all these podcasts, that I think
Yeah, yeah,
eventually impact matters more than what kind of design you're doing. And if you think
yeah, yeah.
that way, you will have more clarity. I think that's what I feel.
Absolutely. I think to a large extent, education and counseling. I'm not very conversant with the curriculum right now, in terms of
Hmm.
industrial design or automotive design, and but I suspect that a lot of it still revolves around, like making things look good, and that kind of is the extent of it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Is that?
Actually, recently I went to NID. I conducted a workshop over there. Like some things, they have changed a lot. Like for example, they have included so many overlapping courses like HMI, UI, UX designing. People have moved from PowerPoints to modern day software for presentations like Google Slides, and there is Canva. So
Figma?
Figma also they are using. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have seen this very interesting thing happening in educational sector, that fields are overlapping a lot. So I think even if you are studying transportation design, it's not like proper transportation design which used to happen in
Ah,
our time. Like it used to be
yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
motorcycles and car and sketching and rendering techniques. Now it has, the scope has widened a lot. So
Right.
there are students who are like now pursuing system design, like public mobility system design. There are people who
Hmm.
are focused that they want to do HMI. So they are learning UI, UX, Figma and things like that. Their entire presentation is like that. One of the students, actually, he was telling that he gave his entire jury in metaverse. So like he provided
What?
juries, so he provided juries the Oculus, and he was
Wow.
so he presented some kind of gravity sketch models and things like that in the
Wow.
metaverse, and the
Wow.
jury, yeah. So all these things are happening. So I think education field also, I think it's moving at a very rapid pace, complementing whatever the technological development
Yeah,
which
so
is happening.
I'm glad that's happening. I think it probably needs to happen to an extent where your final thesis project could be purely HMI driven, and it doesn't have to be anything else, or it could be purely product experience driven. You don't need to talk about how that vehicle looks. You just talk about how, like, you've solved
Solve a
so many of
problem.
these issues that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that I think that needs to be encouraged.
Yeah. Actually, at the end of that workshop also, there are so many students who came to me, and then they were asking whether they should sketch with pencils or pens, or is digital rendering okay? I'm like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
provide solution to the existing problem, and then the medium doesn't matter. Then you show hand sketches, digital rendering, gravity sketch, 3D model, Blender, whatever. But if it is
yeah, yeah.
giving solution, that's all.
I mean, exactly, that the medium doesn't matter. Of course, with an iPad, you don't need to buy refill after refill of marker ink, so that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
But
it's changing a
maybe the
lot
next
in
step could be to simulate the smell of marker ink while using an iPad. Like, like, see,
But
I'm giving you startup idea after startup idea. Yeah,
yeah, students who are listening to this, please.
yeah.
Actually,
Please pick these things up.
yeah. Actually, Shantanu, don't you think that there's another emotional aspect of it, that because we have done so much of marker rendering and pencil sketches and all that,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
we have that
Huh.
emotional connect with all those things.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think these new age students, new age kids, they are moving
Huh.
away from it. So eventually, they
Yes,
might
I
not
think
be able
that's,
to connect with all these emotions which we are talking now, like the alcohol
yeah,
smell.
and
We are
yeah,
like
yeah,
very
yeah.
emotionally connected to it.
But I think, yeah, exactly, and that's okay, because and that's how it should be, right? Like,
Yeah,
why should someone get, like, like, I think we are from probably from this marker generation, but there's a generation of people 30 years before us who were just or like 60 years before us were just about colored pencils on tinted sheets, right? Or giant I don't know, vellum or console, material and all that. And there are changes happening everywhere, and I think you should
Yeah.
just leave the past behind, no matter what. Like, if you do get a sense of how your product looks in full scale, somehow it doesn't matter whether it's clay, whether it's some other medium.
Yeah,
In
true, true,
fact,
true.
I would vouch for a less refined physical prototype, or a physical validation of a less refined type, if it's faster, because it helps you take decisions faster.
Yeah. But I think eventually mediums doesn't matter. Your problem solution matters, and that's what people and
Exactly,
students should
exactly,
focus on. So
exactly.
with that very good note, good concluding note, let's conclude this podcast. Shantanu, thanks again for coming here. I have had a wonderful time chatting. Like a huge variety of topics, and I love this energy that we are able to talk for so long on so many
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
different topics. So that
yeah,
is
yeah,
that is
yeah.
not a very regular kind of a scenario. You don't meet some
Right,
kind of
right,
a
right,
person where you can talk for like hours and hours. So that kind of a
right.
energy, I am really loving it. Yeah,
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast. And it's been really nice. And yeah, I hope to finally catch up in person someday. And
yeah.
this was amazing, incredible.
Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
glad I came here. Yeah,
Pleasure is all
thank you.
mine.